What an incredible championship series it has been so far. The best news for Hoops fans is that we've got Game 5 coming your way in a couple of days' time. I'm delighted to welcome in the owner of the New Zealand Breakers, Matt Walsh, who has given us a little bit of his time. Matt, take this the right way. You look pretty drained and you look pretty tired because I can imagine it's been an emotional couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm a bit wiped out today. I found myself crying like 5 times last night, and I didn't know why. I'm like, this should be like an amazing night. It wasn't because of the result. It wasn't, after the game. It was more of just all the work and the last few years that went into it, the emotions that we poured into this in the last 5 years. So I'm a bit drained, but I'm so excited, and I'm so excited for the guys. And what more could the league ask for? Game 5, we're gonna have another 19,000 people. It's pretty cool.
How proud are you of New Zealand basketball fans who have been through a lot and have missed a lot, obviously, and we'll talk about the COVID years as well. But record crowd yesterday at Spark, pulling back the sheets, everything that you could to get people in, and look at how amazing it was.
You said it. I'm proud and I'm grateful. It's not easy to stick by a team that for 2 years you don't get to see in person. We knew that would be almost like a learning curve for people having us back, and it's been gradual throughout the year. And to have it come to a pinnacle like it did last night with 10,000 people. I mean, when Barry Brown dunked that ball, I looked around and I was just like, oh my God. So very excited, very proud of the team, very proud of our staff, and just grateful that we were very we were very intent on building a team this year that the fans could be proud of. We wanted it. We wanted a team that played the right way, that played tough, that was a team. You watch our guys; they love each other. And for me, if we would have went 6-22 like we did last year, I always said I see the work going in. I know the results will come, and I'm just so proud that the Kiwis are proud of this team. So it's pretty cool.
And I guess different for the Breakers from every other team here in the NBL is that you're representing a nation. Can you feel that?
Yeah, again, and we take pride in that. Like we felt that the last few years there was a disconnect. Part of that was because we were gone, but part of it was we needed to build a team that, hey, Chase Buford said earlier this year, we're like the All Blacks, right? We want to be a team. We want to be a team like the All Blacks in that we want Kiwis to be proud of us. And I think we've missed the mark on things in the past 5 years. We've made mistakes. We've done things well, but this year I think we really nailed it with the kind of roster we built.
Speaking of Chase, let's cut to the chase. The Sydney Kings and the Breakers. How would you say that relationship is right now?
I think if you listen to me speak at all in the last 3 weeks, everyone knows how I feel about Sydney Kings, right? Paul Smith is the owner that I'm closest with throughout the league. Chris Pongrass is probably, one of the best executives in our league, if not the best. I love those guys. After they kicked our ass games 2 and 3, I walked right up and I was like, man, you guys were great. And I shook their hands, and it's the way it is. I think the talk going into Game 5 is all wrong in that they're talking about me and Chase Buford and the officials. After such an amazing season, I also think that Chase knows what he's doing, and he's doing what he thinks is best for his team, and I respect that. And I respect Chase as a coach; he's a very good coach. I mentioned it earlier this year. He said we play like the All Blacks, and then for 3 quarters they got called for 3 fouls. We got called for 25, and that's tactical, and that's part of it. That's gamesmanship, and I don't begrudge Sydney or Chase at all, but I hope ahead of this game, and what all we want is both teams have worked so hard. Sydney's going for a repeat, which is so hard in professional sports. We went through really 2 tough years. It's this awesome storyline. Let's let the players duke it out on the court. But again, I don't take it personal. Maybe it is personal, maybe it's not, but I look at it as Chase is very tactical and he knows exactly what he's doing. And he came in last night with the intent to leave everyone saying, oh, did Sydney get screwed? Maybe in Game 5, the refs will go the other way. And that's part of it. And it was calculating. And, but I love Sydney. I'm envious of what they do. And I hope that, we're the two teams that teams look at and go, okay, they're run the right way. So I have absolutely no hard feelings. I love Paul. I love Chris. And yeah.
Everyone loves everyone. It's interesting though, because in Chase's post-match press conference yesterday, he said that as soon as he saw your tweet after game 3, I should say, that he knew that in his mind that it was going to be officiated a certain way. So just take us through your tweet if you can, firstly.
So I was sitting there in Game 3, and when I saw Rob Lowe get called for the offensive foul that was actually overturned. So it wasn't after the game. I said that right in the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty, I think, of a lot of people when you're on Twitter, you say stuff, when you're emotional that you shouldn't. And so that's what I did. And then I was like, oh, well, they overturned it. I'm not going to delete my tweet. But I did think it was relevant to get the information out there that we had played 6 playoff games. And for 6 games, we committed more fouls and shot less free throws. That's unprecedented. You one game, you get a whistle that goes in your favor. You shoot the same amount of free throws. So I did think that information was relevant to share, and we shared it. Now, in saying that, last night there was a 4-foul disparity. Do you know how many games we played this year with a 4-foul disparity that went against us? A majority of our games. So to sit there, I do think it's disingenuous to sit there and say the only reason that we won was because they played 5-on-8. I don't think that's in the spirit of what we're doing here. But again, he's emotional and he knows what he's doing. He's trying to give his team an edge. And if I was on the other side of it, I'd probably be thinking, how do we get an edge?
So going into game 5, as an owner of one of the teams competing, what are you hoping for as far as officiating? I know we're talking a lot about officiating and there's so much more going on in this series, but it is topical right now.
Just let the guys play. The one thing, this idea that we're physical and they're not, like, what are we talking? Watch Justin Simon guard the ball. Watch Xavier Cooks challenge shots. They're trying to repeat. Of course they're physical. They're a tough team. Just let the guys play both ways. I would love it if both teams had 12 fouls or 14 fouls and we don't go to the bonus, and whoever makes shots, if Derek Walton goes off, if Xavier Cook goes off, if Barry Brown Jr., give the guys a chance to just win it on the court. I think that's what's going to happen. Look, these referees are doing their best, right? Like it's a thankless job. I yell at them, and after every single time, I'm like, man, I feel bad. Like, these are people at the end of the day. You see Vaughn or Michael or Mitch, you see them walking through the airport, and you're like, well, I wish I didn't say what I did to them the night before. Every single time. So, the one thing that is funny, earlier this year, Chase said after the game with the All Blacks comments, he said, man, I feel bad for those officials. They could have called a foul on the Breakers every time. So it's funny to kind of see how, depending on if you win or lose, how your viewpoint of the refs, changes.
I've just realized I dress like an official today too, so that probably wasn't smart on my behalf. On the All Blacks thing, very quickly, it seemed at the time that Marty took it as a bit of a badge of honor that, yes, we are a physical team and we are going to bang you up defensively and we're going to keep you to a low number. Is that how you felt as well when you heard it?
Yeah. And again, I don't take any of it personal. Maybe, some people do or would, but to be compared to the All Blacks in New Zealand is the highest honor you can have. Right. And we built this team with the intent of being really tough. And if you look at the last few years, we looked at it and we said, okay, you finished top 2 or 3 in the league in defensive rating, you're making the playoffs. That's kind of the mark. If you look at one stat consistent throughout the year. So we built this team with intent. We're the best defensive team in the league and we finished second. So there was certainly intent on how we built this team. And if you want to compare us to the All Blacks, as long as the referees don't view it that way, I'm happy for the comparison.
Matt, I want to ask you about your coach, Marty Mayor. You had a decision to make at the end of last season. Dan Shamir and the club parted ways. Marty had been a part of the system under Dan. You could have gone a separate way. You could have looked externally and brought someone else in, but clearly you knew already that you had the right guy. Take us through Marty's qualities.
Yeah, there was no decision. And I actually said that at our awards dinner, and people thought that I was saying I was stuck with him, but that's not what I was saying. He was the only decision. I saw the work that he put in for 3.5 years as an assistant, 2.5 years, sorry. And I knew he was the right man for the job. And I knew the players loved him and I knew that he really cared. And I think that's the big thing. Marty Mayor knows basketball inside and out, but he makes the investment to put in the time with the players. He's got relationships with them. It's not just, hey, you work for me and do what you're told. And I think the players love him and the players are playing for him. And I think also they're playing for each other, and that all starts with the coach. So I can't say enough nice things about Marty. I love him, and I miss being here. I've been spending some time in the States this year, and after games, wins, losses, we go to our favorite Greek spot and we drink some ouzo and we laugh and we talk basketball. And I miss that as much as anything, to be honest with you.
I feel like he'd be a funny sort of guy to have dinner with and just have a chat. He seems to have a really dry sense of humor.
Yeah, we have fun. Last year, spending the year in Australia with him was a lot of fun, and he's just a great guy. And I think we see things very similarly. So I'm happy that he's leading our organization on the performance side.
Matt, the last 2 years, there's no hiding it. They were unprecedented, and hopefully no professional sporting team in this country ever has to go through what the Breakers went through and the sacrifices that were made. From the lowest of lows to where you are now, can you believe it, in the space of 12 months?
I believe it just because, I mentioned it earlier. As we went through it, I saw that every single day our guys were coming to work with the right attitude and going through hell in a lot of ways. And I knew that would translate sometime in the future to not only wins, but toughness and making us stronger. And it happened quickly, yeah. But I think part of the reason I was so emotional last night, I look in the crowd and I saw Tom Abercrombie's parents were so happy. Tom went through such a tough time these last 2 years being on the road away from his family. Rob Lowe, the same. Modi, Will McDowell White. And to see them playing in front of a crowd, not in Tasmania where we're playing at home. I love, what they've done there is amazing, but it's not our home court. It felt almost like, like these guys deserved it. And in sport, look, there's no real, you don't get what you deserve. You get what you go out and take. But I did feel a little bit of like, I was happy to see that those guys got something that I felt was, deserved, well deserved.
So if you were overcome with emotion after winning game 4, how are you going to be if you hoist the trophy aloft on Wednesday night?
Like I said, I was like a wreck the entire game. It was more of like when I would free throw line and I would look up and you couldn't hear anything. And when I see so many people having such an amazing time, if we win, I'm sure I'm going to be thrilled. But I think that for the most part, like the emotions for me were more of like looking around and seeing all these New Zealanders having such a great time. So I'll be a nervous wreck. If I'm going to lose to someone in our league, I'll be happy to shake Paul and Chris's hand and say, "Hey, congrats on the repeat." But I hope our guys go out and win, and I'm sure I'll be thrilled. But I'll be standing back. Just these are the guys that put in the time this year, and I'll let Modi and the guys really soak it in.
Ownership's tough, no question about it. But from what you've been through to where you are now, even personally, I've no doubt that the last couple of years would have been so hard on you. Will it make it all worthwhile if you can do it on Wednesday? Or is it already worthwhile, the fact that you're here now at game 5?
Yeah, it's worthwhile. Look, even after the game last night, it was great. You went in the locker room and the guys all said there's work to be done. It was more a celebration of the event and, how we've earned the trust back of the New Zealand public. So this season's been a success, like in a lot of ways, but there's work to be done. When you're the Breakers and you win 4 out of 5 championships in the last decade, it's championship or, okay, how do we win a championship next year? So we're going in with that mentality. We've got guys who are really tough. And I think Modi has them, last night was a celebration in a lot of ways because we're able to extend the series, but it wasn't a feeling of we've accomplished anything.
Matt, it's been incredible so far. Been an amazing ride for the New Zealand Breakers, no question about it. It will be one of the great Australian sports stories if, even though it's a New Zealand team, you can be successful on Wednesday night. Thanks so much for joining me this afternoon and appreciate you finding a few minutes, and good luck on Wednesday.
Yeah, just make sure you change that referee shirt before next day. I don't want you catching any loose shots.
I didn't think that through very well, did I? I'll wear something different on Wednesday night, I promise. I'll come find you and prove it to you.
No, thanks, Jack. We look forward to seeing you in Sydney.